Welcome to Article Critiquing. We got another one from Collider. 9 Netflix films that failed to spawn a franchise. These Netflix movies seemed built for sequels. So what happened? Okay, Bright, as they mentioned, there's a talk about a sequel some years later, but it wasn't that well received because it turned out being not that good. It wasn't amazing. It was an early attempt to try to make something big, but yeah, the movie failed, and that's probably also why it took so long before they tried to make a sequel. But again, it's often like this with movies. Sometimes you might want to make some sequels, sometimes you don't. And also, some movies maybe have too big a one-off story to keep going, since many of the conflicts and issues in the world of this movie is dealt pretty much with. You need to be able to renew it, and since you have a movie based on a principle, which is what the movie revolves around, then it gets hard to make a sequel if you made the first. It's like if you stopped all evil, not that they did that, but you have to find a reason to make some new, or else it'd just be meaningless, and you might as well just write another movie with other characters. 6 Underground, Michael Bay movie. Sure, they might be able to make a sequel, I don't know. We got Thunder Force. First of all, it seemed like a movie that was a one-shot, as in the jokes, the setup. It went for the parody kind of fun comedy, and it would be hard to build upon that much because all the jokes would either start to fall flat or they would have to be really good suddenly, and then, yeah, it wouldn't be the same movie. Second of all, the movie is sadly bad. I want to like it when I saw it. I thought it could be fun. I think they're both really funny sometimes, but yeah, in this it was too slow a burn. It had bad jokes. It was disjointed. It's another one of those films that might suffer a bit too much with the ad-lib culture we had at that time, where we got comedians doing some takes. Sure, it's been done where it worked, but then they usually had a script and go, this is good, and then try some ad-lib scenes. This, like Ghostbusters, were just, too much ad-lib and not too much structure, which ends up hurting the movie, because then you don't have a cohesive narrative and it just gets into trying to be funny jokes cut together in hopes to be amusing. So yeah, it didn't get a sequel because the way it was written and made would make a sequel really hard, and the quality of the movie was too bad, and maybe something could have lived up if they made a second, but again, you'd still want to make people see it, and it's not sure people would watch it if the first was, well, mostly boring. Fear Street. Okay, I like them, and in this instance I'd like to say, but they were done in 2021, so if they're making more, it's not sure it's finished now or they've come out yet, but they were good, and sure, they could make some more, especially since there's more movies, especially since there are a lot more books in the series, but I'm guessing not in that particular story they made. I like what he's writing here. There's been no official word on continue the adaptation of these famous books beyond the original 3 movies. That's especially peculiar given how quickly horror sequels can often get produced. Well, quick tip here, only not that good movies are really easy to make fast. Sure, if you got set up like when you make a TV show or something where you can use the same things again and again. But then he writes, as seen by various Saw and Paranormal Activity follow-ups. Okay, yeah, but again, as I said, if we don't count bad movies, the Saw movies, that's just, besides number 1, they're pretty terrible, and they only get worse and worse and more disjointed and incoherent, so yeah. And then Paranormal Activity. Cheap moves that cost nothing, doesn't really adhere together that well or have a coherent story. We have to remember that Paranormal Activity is actually more or less an hour plus minus 20 minutes of nothing, no big stories or subplots. Sure, there's small things, but the thing that's fun in the Paranormal Activity movies is following along what's happening. Sure, when you notice that, oh, there's a frying pan, it went from black to red. Oh, it has nothing to do with the story. Oh, something just totally changed because it is so cheap and people are using these houses when they're there, so things get moved around, which has nothing to do with the ghosts thing. Yeah, so beside them being cheap, easy to make, fast and bad, that's not a good example. Death Note, well, it was bad. wasn't really good entertaining, so I don't see how. If they were more true to the original story, sure, maybe. But yeah, Project Power, it was an okay movie. But the thing is, it concluded. They had the beginning, they told a big story. I don't see how there's more in the world. Sure, you could make up a story, but again, the Jamie Foxx storyline was completed. You even got explanation why he was not using his powers before, and it ended. I really don't see how you're gonna continue on something that's ended this much.